Tonight we are going to be reading a relaxing story called A Gentle Walk Through Amsterdam. I was just recently in Amsterdam and I thought it would be nice to recap what I saw. But it's going to be from the perspective of a different person. Before we begin, I'd like to gently, hopefully, bring your attention to your breath. Baby yawn. Let it go. Let the day go. And take a breath in on the count of 4. Hold for 2. And release for 6. Yawn if you have to. Breathe in for 4. 2. 6. One more time. 4. Do it a couple more times. Feel yourself unwind. Feel the muscles in your body tense. If they are, release. Let your shoulders drop. Let your hands rest. Are you laying down? Are you comfortable? Feel your belly rising and sinking with your breath. Feel your chest rising and sinking with your breath. Let's begin. A soothing walk through Amsterdam. The morning air in Amsterdam was fresh and cool, the kind that feels like a gentle caress against your skin, just as the first rays of sunlight began to warm the cobblestone streets. The city, still quiet, seemed to be in a soft, waking slumber, as if it, too, was stretching out and yawning before the start of the day. He stood at the edge of the canal, his breath misting in the morning chill, the water below him as still as glass. The houses that lined up the canal, tall and narrow with their ornate gables, reflected perfectly in the tranquil surface, creating the illusion of an upside-down world. Each building was a different color, some a deep red brick, others a faded yellow or a cool blue, with large windows that glistened in the early light. It was as if the city had been painted in soft pastels, a watercolor scene brought to life. He started walking, the soles of his shoes tapping lightly against the uneven cobblestones, a rhythmic sound that echoed in the silence of the morning. As he walked, he noticed the details that made Amsterdam so unique, so quietly beautiful. The bicycles leaned casually against the iron railings of the bridges, their wheels catching the light in tiny flashes. Each bridge he crossed offered a new perspective of the canal, a different play of light and shadow, a new composition of reflections. The trees that lined the canals were just beginning to show signs of the season's change. Their leaves, a mix of green and gold, whispered in their breeze, their branches swaying gently as if nodding in agreement to some shared secret. He reached out to touch a low-hanging branch, feeling the cool, smooth surface of the leaves beneath his fingers. As he continued his stroll, he passed a small bakery just opening for the day. The warm, comforting scent of fresh bread and pastries wafted out, filling the air with a sweet, buttery aroma that made his mouth water. The baker, a kind-faced woman with flour dusting her hands, was arranging loaves of bread in the window. She looked up as he passed and offered a soft smile, one that he returned with a nod of appreciation. The streets of Amsterdam were beginning to stir. He could hear the distant sound of a tram as it glided along the tracks, the faint ring of a bicycle bell as someone cycled past. But the city still held on to its peacefulness, its quiet charm. He felt as if he were walking through a painting, each scene more beautiful and serene than the last. He turned down a narrow side street where the buildings leaned towards each other as if in conversation, their upper stories nearly touching. Here, the cobblestones were worn smooth by centuries of footsteps, and the air was filled with the scent of old stone and wood. The street was lined with small shops, their windows filled with curiosities, antique books, delicate porcelain, and vintage postcards. He paused to admire a display of hand-painted tiles, each one a miniature work of art, depicting scenes of windmills, tulips, and boats on the canals. Further along, he came across a small courtyard, hidden away from the main streets. It was a quiet oasis, with a fountain at its corner and benches scattered around the edges. The fountain's gentle trickle was the only sound, a soothing accompaniment to the stillness. He sat on one of the benches, letting the peace of the place wash over him. Above, A vine-covered wall framed the sky, where a few fluffy clouds drifted lazily. The sun had risen higher now, casting a soft golden glow over everything it touched. After a while, he stood up and continued on his way. The day was unfolding slowly, deliberately, as if time itself had decided to take a leisurely pace. He found himself on a street lined with art galleries, their doors just beginning to open. One caught his eye, a small gallery with large windows that offered a glimpse of the paintings inside. He entered, the quiet chime of a bell announcing his arrival. The gallery was cool and dimly lit, the walls adorned with vibrant canvases that depicted scenes of Amsterdam in various styles. One painting in particular drew him in, a serene depiction of the canal at sunset, the sky ablaze with colors, the water reflecting the brilliance in softer hues. He stood before it, losing himself in the brushstrokes, the way the artist had captured the light, the tranquility. The gallery owner, a man with graying hair and kind eyes, approached him quietly, respecting the moment. They exchanged a few words about the painting, the artist's technique, the inspiration behind the work. The conversation was as soothing as the surroundings, a gentle exchange of thoughts and ideas. When he left the gallery, the sun was higher in the sky, casting longer shadows across the streets. The city was awake now, but still unhurried, as if everyone had agreed to move through the day with the same calm, measured steps. He found himself at a large square where a market was being set up. Stalls filled with flowers, their vibrant colors a feast for the eyes, stood alongside others selling fresh produce, cheeses, and artisanal goods. He wandered through the market, the scent of flowers mingling with the earthy aroma of fresh vegetables and the sharp tang of cheese. A stall selling tulips caught his attention, the flowers arranged in neat rows, their petals a symphony of color. He bought a small bouquet, the bright blooms a cheerful companion for the rest of his walk. As he moved on, he noticed a small cafe on the corner of the square, its tables set out on the sidewalk, shaded by large umbrellas. The cafe was inviting, with the scent of freshly brewed coffee and the sound of soft jazz playing in the background. He took a seat at one of the tables, the bouquet of tulips resting beside him, and ordered a coffee. The waiter brought his drink with a smile, and he took a moment to savor the rich, warm aroma before taking a sip. The coffee was smooth and comforting, each sip warming him from the inside. He watched as the square slowly filled with people, locals going about their day, tourists exploring the city, all moving with the same relaxed pace that seemed to define Amsterdam. As he sat there, a soft breeze picked up, rustling the leaves of the nearby trees and carrying with it the sound of the city, the distant hum of a tram, the laughter of children playing, the chatter of people as they passed by. It was a symphony of life, gentle and harmonious, a perfect accompaniment to the tranquility he felt. Time seemed to slow even more as he sat there, sipping his coffee, watching the world go by. The sun climbed higher, its warmth a gentle caress on his skin, the light dappling the ground through the leaves of the trees. He felt a deep sense of contentment, of peace, as if all the worries of the world had melted away, leaving only this moment of perfect stillness. Eventually, he finished his coffee and stood up, feeling refreshed and rejuvenated. The tulips in his hand seemed even brighter in the midday sun, their colors a vivid contrast against the soft hues of the city. He resumed his walk, the market square fading into the distance behind him as he ventured further into the heart of Amsterdam. The streets were busier now, but still, the city remained its calm, its quiet charm. He passed by more shops and cafes, their doors open to the warm day, the sound of soft conversations and clinking glasses spilling out onto the streets. Each corner he turned revealed something new, a hidden garden, a small bookstore, a narrow alleyway that led to another canal. He found himself drawn to the water again, the canals that crisscross the city like veins, each one with its own character, its own story to tell. He followed the curve of the canal, watching the boats as they drifted by, their reflections shimmering in the water. The city's rhythm was slow and steady, like the flow of the water, soothing and unhurried. As he walked, he noticed a small park along the edge of the canal, its entrance marked by an ornate wrought iron gate. The park was quiet, a peaceful haven away from the streets. He entered, the soft crunch of gravel underfoot the only sound. The park was filled with trees and flowers, their colors vibrant against the green of the grass. A few benches were scattered throughout, inviting visitors to sit and enjoy the serenity of the place. He found a bench near the water's edge where he could watch the boats glide by and listened to the gentle lapping of the water against the shore. He sat down, the bouquet of tulips resting on his lap, and let out a contented sigh. The park was a hidden gem, a place where time seemed to stand still, where the world outside faded away, leaving only the beauty of nature and the calm of the moment. As he sat there, a pair of swans glided gracefully across the canal, their white feathers gleaming in the sunlight. They moved in perfect harmony, their movements synchronized as if they were performing a dance. He watched them for a long time, mesmerized by their elegance, their peacefulness. The afternoon sun was warm, the light golden as it filtered through the leaves of the trees, casting dappled shadows on the ground. He closed his eyes for a moment, letting the warmth seep into his skin, feeling completely at peace. The sounds of the park, the rustle of leaves, the chirping of birds, the distant hum of the city lulled him into a state of deep relaxation. When he opened his eyes again, the swans had moved on, and the park was bathed in the soft light of late afternoon. He stood up, feeling refreshed and at ease, and continued his walk along the canal. The city was beginning to change as the day drew to a close, the light softer, the shadows longer. The buildings along the canal seemed to glow in the golden light, their reflections in the water even more vivid. He wandered through the streets, taking in the beauty of the city as the sun began to set. The sky turned a brilliant shade of orange and pink, the colors reflected in the water, creating a scene of breathtaking beauty. The canal boats, now lit with soft lanterns, drifted slowly along, their lights twinkling like stars on the water. As the day turned to evening, he found himself back at the canal where he had started, the houses now lit from within, their warm glow spilling out onto the water. The city was quiet again, the hustle and bustle of the day replaced by the soft murmur of the night. He stood at the water's edge, taking in the scene, feeling a deep sense of contentment. The walk had been a journey through the heart of Amsterdam, a journey that had brought him closer to the city, to its beauty, its tranquility. As he stood there, the tulips in his hand, the city seemed to embrace him, its calm, its peace, wrapping around him like a warm blanket. The day had been perfect, a soothing, gentle day, and as the night settled over Amsterdam, He knew that the city's charm would stay with him, a memory to hold on to, a reminder of the simple, quiet beauty of the world.